And in the past, we've usually had worship services. We're going to do a little hymn singing and worship, but we're going to also be having a program where we hear from a community organization and the work they do to share the love of Christ. And also, we're going to be helping them by, well, let me start what we're doing. We're having Beth Wharton is here, and she is from InterVarsity that provides students in college with the ability to find their faith anew, if it's new for them, or to encourage their faith if they're getting, sometimes children, they forget, they only go as far as fourth grade in Sunday school, and there they are, and their faith isn't that of an adult, and so this is an opportunity for them to get together with their peers and find a deeper faith. But I want to welcome first the congregations of Bethel United Church of Christ, St. Bartholomew's United Church, Evangelical Lutheran Church of America, I got it all out, and St. David's United Church of Christ, and St. Paul's Dubs United Church of Christ. If you're one of those churches, give yourself an applause that you're here. That's it. And I see some people from Grace in Hanover, and let's see. I saw some another church, but anyway, anybody want to raise your hand and tell? St. Bartholomew's, good. Thank you for being here. Yeah, you came a long way from by the lakeside there. So after Beth's presentation, we're going to have an opportunity, those of you who are here in the room, to go to the gathering room in back of the sanctuary, where we're going to put together some cards of encouragement to send to the college students. And I know you're thinking, what am I going to write? Lorelei Rohrbaugh has given us a whole bunch of hints of what we can write. You'll get a sheet with some hints on it, and you can write them a nice note encouraging their faith. And then we're going to put together these gift bags for the college students, and there's all kinds of things you can put in there, and some of you brought some great gifts, I see. They're just each going to get a bag. There's about 50 bags back there that we need to fill for the college students. And then this takes work, so we're going to fortify you with cookies and other goodies back there, because we don't want anybody fainting on us from low blood sugar or anything, okay? So we're going to take care of you. So we're going to start out by singing some hymns. We're going to hear a hymn. We're going to sing a hymn. We're going to hear the choir share an anthem. We're going to, pray. And, I almost forgot. This is very important. There were people behind this very important idea to reach out to community organizations. And I believe that was Reverend Susan Fritz and Pastor Scott Sager. They're here today. So if you like this, give them a pat on the back. And if you don't like it, well, you got to come up with another idea for next year. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So thank you, colleagues, for that good work. And so we're going to start off singing a hymn. We're going to hear an anthem. We're going to say a prayer together, or I'm going to say a prayer. You can listen, and then we'll be hearing a word of scripture and another hymn. So, okay, here we go. All the words are on the screens, and I'm going to ask you to stand and sing the hymn once we get cranking on the intro here.
answer, dear Lord, with my hand in thine. I'll go where you want me to go. I'll go where you want me to go, dear Lord, over mountain or plain or sea. I'll say what you want me to say, dear Lord. I'll be what you want me to be. Perhaps today there are loving words which Jesus would have me speak. There may be now in the paths of sin some wanderer whom I should seek. But Savior, if thou wilt be my guide, though dark and rugged the way, my voice shall echo a message sweet. I'll say what you want me to say. I'll go where you want me to go, dear Lord, over mountain or plain or sea. I'll say what you want me to say, dear Lord. I'll be what you want me to be. There's surely somewhere a lowly place in earth's harvest field so wide, where I may labor through life's short day for Jesus the crucified. So trusting my all to thy tender care, and knowing thou lovest me, I'll do thy will with a heart sincere. I'll be what you want me to be. I'll go where you want me to go, dear Lord, over mountain or plain or sea. I'll say what you want me to say, dear Lord. I'll be what you want me to be.
You may be seated. Let us come before the Lord in prayer. Let us pray. Gracious God, how exciting it is to be here with other Christians who have a faith like we do and are dedicated enough to come out on a Sunday afternoon after they already worshiped you in church this morning. Because how good it is that we can sing hymns together and we can hear the voices just join in harmony and with such power. How good it is that we can care about the faith of other people, to be supportive to one another, not just friends in the same church, but across our many different churches. How good it is too, Lord, that we might also celebrate the ministry of InterVarsity. And we are so grateful that Beth Wharton can be here. We are grateful for the work that she does and the student leaders do there at your college, of sharing faith with others, of when students are in a new place, away from home, and trying to find who they are at this time of life, that there is a group of other Christians, other people who aren't afraid to talk about their faith, who support one another in loving you and loving your good works and love. And we are so grateful that they are there to reach out and help one another, and also those who don't have any faith at all. We thank you, Lord, for this work that we are doing together and this ministry. because you call us to be more than just individual churches who stay within our closed doors, but to reach out with the love of Christ to our communities, to show that Christians aren't just about talk, but we're about action, to be those people through our lives and our examples that we show what Jesus was really like. Bless our ministry here today, Lord. Bless our work together. In Jesus' name, amen. And now our choir is going to sing The Gift of Love.
Jesus calls us from the worship of the vain world's golden store, from each idol that would keep us saying, Christian, love me more. In our joys and in our sorrows, days of toil and hours of ease, still he calls in cares and pleasures, Christian, love me more than these. Jesus calls us by thy mercies, Savior, may we hear thy call. Give our hearts to thine obedience, serve and love thee best of all.
You may be seated. Our scripture for today is from 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 15 through 16. But have reverence for Christ in your hearts and honor him as Lord. Be ready at all times to answer anyone who asks you to explain the hope you have in you, but do it with gentleness and respect. Keep your conscience clear so that when you are insulted, those who speak evil of your good conduct as followers of Christ will be ashamed of what they say. From the Good News Translation. Our speaker for today is named Beth Wharton. And as I mentioned, she is a ministry chaplain at York Hospital, focusing on intervarsity fellowship. Now, there was a woman from our church, Alexis Barnhart, who did this ministry at the same time that Beth started. Well, I shouldn't say that. They both went into intervarsity about the same time. But it's quite a process because, oftentimes ministers go to church and churches say, okay, we'll negotiate what we're going to pay you and all that. But in intervarsity, you've got to raise your own money before you start your ministry. And that's quite a process, going from church to church, being able to speak effectively about how your ministry is going to matter and how it's going to make a difference to the churches. And as they reach out to college students, that may not be the easiest group to enter into because, sometimes college students say, I'm free of mom and dad, and I'm going to spend my time partying at school. But no, they are able to capture the attention of these young people, and at a time when they probably need faith the most, that they're able to help them. So Beth is going to share with us her message now. First, there's going to be a video that's going to give you a little background about InterVarsity. Then Beth is going to give her talk, and then we're going to see another video, which is some of the students at InterVarsity at York and what this ministry has really meant for them. So Beth, please come forward. And she started her college education for this ministry when her children were just small. So imagine all that. With it's not like being a doctor or a lawyer, where you know everything's going to get paid for, and it's really an easy job. It takes a lot of faith to do that.
Some people think college is a place you go to lose your faith. They think that he and she and they are going to lead me away from Jesus. Others told me not to spend too much time here, or even here, to make sure that I have plenty of time to spend here and here, so that I can go, anywhere I want in the future. But if we believe that God is everywhere, then that means he's already at work here, and here, and here. It means he cares about her messed up family and has compassion for his anxiety. He understands the pressure that keeps them up at night and the loneliness he feels every day. It means God has a plan not just for my future after college, but for my time in college, as well as his time in college, and hers, and his, and theirs. That makes this the perfect place to study Scripture deeply, to experience authentic community, and to make my faith my own. It means that when I share about the hope I have in Jesus here, he'll have an opportunity to meet Jesus. And so will she. And them too. Imagine how God could use us there, and there, and there, because of how he's transformed us here.
Well, thank you very much for having me be here with you today. It's nice to see so many faces out on a Sunday afternoon. My name is Beth Wharton, and I live here in York. I'm actually from York, born and raised, but then my husband and I moved away for 25 years. And during that 25 years, as we had children and our kids grew up, and God was preparing me for something that I had no idea was coming down the pike, as he does for us. So thank you, Pastor Bouchard, for your invitation, and thank you for listening for a few moments. Hopefully you'll walk away with a few things to think about. One neat connection that we had, back in 2020, my husband and I, his name is Jonas, we volunteer with InterVarsity Christian Fellowship for 4 years at York College. And we worked with another person who was on staff. But in 2020, I really felt like God was leading me, prompting me, and asking me to go on staff with InterVarsity, which, like Pastor Bouchard said, I had to raise support for that. So I was like, are you sure, Lord? That's what you're asking me to do? But he made it very clear. And so I submitted my application the day of COVID in March, the Saturday in March, that COVID shut everything down. So then I was like, oh my goodness, what is going on? But it has been a journey of faith building and walking by faith and not by sight all the time. But one neat connection that this church family here has with a friend that I made through coming on staff was Alexis Barnhart. And see if I can get this right. We were hired around the same time, and we were put into a new staff training. And so Alexis happened to be in my triad. And so every month we would get together, and her and another gentleman, we would get together and encourage one another, talk about the subject that we were supposed to be discussing, and really asking God to help us to learn. And Alexis became a friend. Now, we had to do all of this through Zoom. And I am not a technology pro by any means. I'm old school, and God has a sense of humor, because the students that I work with, it is so second nature to them, but it's okay. And so Alexis is our connection, and I don't think she's serving with InterVarsity any longer, but I know that she definitely believes in the cause of working with campus ministry and next gen ministries. So I just wanted to show a picture that we took one time when we were on a Zoom call. So I have a question for you. Has God ever asked you to do something that took faith and you weren't sure if you could do it? Has anybody had that experience in your life at least one time? Probably everyone in this room has had those moments. Well, in this Lenten season that we are observing, it made me think of even Jesus was sent into the wilderness, Matthew 4, and he was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted. So even Jesus was asked to do something that maybe he wasn't wanting to do, but he followed in obedience. And so when God called me to go on staff, I had some insecurities about that. And so every summer before I'm planning, getting ready to meet with the leadership team, I last summer was starting just to feel like, am I too old for this? I'm not good with technology. Like all of these insecurities were bombarding me. And I was down at the beach with my children. I have 2 daughters and my husband. And just like that, I heard in my ear the words from John 15:16. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, and so that whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. And so I had such confidence. It gave me this, just this peace in my heart that God was with me. I didn't always have to understand all the details, but I wanted to walk in obedience, and he was with me. And working with college students is like working with fruit that will last, because they choose to follow Jesus as young adults, and it really makes an impact on the rest of the decisions for their lives. And so that's fruit that will last. And then we also encourage students to be disciples that make disciples, and not just keep that good news to themselves, but to share it with others. So then it multiplies. And to teach these students how to pray. Like the end of the verse says, so whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. And so helping students realize that no matter what they're facing, they can talk to Jesus, he's with them, and he wants to work in their lives. So I got really excited about it. So here's the need. A lot of times when I talk with churches, it's sobering. It can be depressing. There's 20 million college students that are being prepared to influence our world. That's a big number. But there's a lot of chaos and crowded voices that they hear when they get on a campus. And unfortunately, statistics say that 70% of youth involved in the church growing up are no longer involved by their late 20s. And that's just discouraging right from the start. So I'm trusting God to continue seeing that change. And I can say in the 7 years that I've worked with InterVarsity, God is doing good things. And he is raising up young men and women to make a difference, to take his story, the gospel, out into the world. So don't lose heart. Don't lose heart. So here's the reality. This is the opportunity. When we change the university, we have an impact to change the world. And the imagery that God gave me, I don't know what happened. Speaking of technology. Okay, thank you. God gave me the imagery of a dandelion. So I know how many people here hate dandelions. They seem pesty and whatever, but it's going to be my visual to say, whenever you see a dandelion this summer, heading into the spring and summer, pray for InterVarsity. Okay, I'm going to redeem that little flower. So you think about a dandelion, it goes to seed, and then off they blow. That's kind of how the students are. We work with them for 4 years. We get to watch them grow and bloom, and then kind of really be ready to go. And off they go. And since we've been able to work with them for so many years now, I'm getting to follow a lot of the alumni and see how God is using them, and see different churches they're plugging into and different ministries they're a part of. So I love the image of a dandelion. And that is how we're seeing these little seeds sprouting off, and we're seeing Jesus, his love, going out into the world. So just to give some statistical numbers for people in the room that really appreciate that, York College is part of the Mid-Atlantic region, which includes Delaware, DC, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. And there are approximately 1,800 students on 51 college campuses that are engaged in the InterVarsity Christian Fellowship. So out of the 150 colleges that have 1,000 students or more, there's 45 campuses that still are without a gospel community. So there's no ministry, because InterVarsity is one of many campus ministries, Athletes in Action, Campus Crusade for Christ, Young Life. Some you might be familiar with some of those. So they are also, Disciple Makers is another one. They're making an impact in college students' lives as well. So we're partners in this. But God's called me to work with InterVarsity. So please be praying that God would call. And I was thinking of the words from the song that we sang, Jesus calls us, I'll go where you want me to go, the 2 hymns that we chose to sing this morning or this afternoon. It's powerful. God is calling people to step out of their comfort zone and to follow him and do different things to share the love of Jesus. So over 1,200 students gather weekly in these different campuses in that Mid-Atlantic region to participate in small group Bible studies. And also around 130 students that we know of decided to follow Jesus. So that's an encouragement as well. So you think of back to the dandelion, one little seed blows off, falls onto good soil, starts to grow, and then think about all the seeds that are produced just from that one little dandelion seed that blew away. So these numbers might seem low when you think about the big number of, how many college students are out getting an education. It might seem like we're trying to shovel snow while it's still snowing, but God multiplies. And so it is encouraging. The girls in the group at the bottom there are all nursing students. And the picture at the top, we meet on Thursday nights on campus, and we do a gathering called Large Group. And so students come together at 8 o'clock. We have a worship team. We have different speakers that come and provide challenges for the students. And this particular week, the students were learning how to lead inductive Bible studies. So how to open up to a portion of Scripture, how to read it, how to observe, how to make interpretation, and then how to apply it to our everyday life. Why does it matter? What does it matter? So they're actually in little small groups around the room learning to lead Bible studies. So the students are sent, again, back to our imagery of the dandelion. We are seeing world changers developed, and that's a big part of my job. They're on campus, but they also work in York City, around York City, and also in other states that they're from. And then after graduation, they're going into different careers, and they're taking their faith with them to share it. So if we can impact the 4 years they're on campus, we know that that's going to impact 40 plus years in the future. And that's exciting, and it's worth investing in. So right now, while we're meeting here, my husband, who is a volunteer with InterVarsity, is leading a group called the Apprenticeship Team. And every spring semester, students that would like to grow in their faith and learn how to share that faith with their friends and family get together for 6 Sundays in the afternoon from 3 to 4:15, and they learn how to be praying for people, how to just be a friendly, loving presence, how to share that with people on campus, how to lead a Bible study. And so they, are just being discipled. I'm normally there with him, but I get to be with you today. And then right after that, we have our leadership team meeting. And the group on my far left, so the group picture, that is the leadership team from last year. And so part of my job is to disciple and to provide leadership development for these students. They're old enough, they want to try things out themselves. They want to get up and make announcements. They want to say a prayer. We ask them to share testimonies and to make sure that people feel loved and welcome when they come. the leadership team disciples the apprenticeship team students. And so there's like kind of, an older classmate helping them, answering prayer or praying with them, and also trying to do some of the weekly challenges that we give the apprenticeship team. So that's that picture. And so those are some of the things that happen. We have 4 Bible studies that are happening this semester. We have a nursing Bible study. We have a men's Bible study. We have a general Bible study for guys and girls. And then there's one other one. Men's, oh no, that was 4, wasn't it? Nursing. Last semester we had an engineering Bible study, but that young lady is off on a co-op this semester, so it will start up again next semester. So these are Bible studies that students lead. So it's not that I'm out there saying, get over here. These students are coming out during a busy week. They have class, tests, pressures weighing on them, but they desire to get together in community, study God's word, learn to pray together. And so I'm trying to bridge the gap. You all are in your churches on Sunday morning. You hear some of the discouraging percentages out there in statistics, but I'm here to let you know that God is moving, and to be encouraged to keep praying for this generation. God is going to do mighty things through them, in them and through them. And I'm excited to see what will happen. The wrong way. So this is a group that in October, we took a group of 23 to Refreshing Mountain Retreat Center, and they gave up their weekend, and we went and had a speaker, worship team, got to know friends from other college campuses from the Mid-Atlantic region. And it was a great weekend of just learning who we are in Jesus Christ and how that faith can make a difference every day. So, that's interesting. The middle picture's upside down, but weird. I don't know how that happened. Oh, well. So the picture to the left, the guy in the burgundy shirt with the Oklahoma Sooners shirt, that's my husband, Jonas. So we get to partner in this endeavor, and it definitely works well that way, working with young men and women. That's at our house, and there's a lot of life, a lot of coming and going at our house. So we kind of named our house Life House at 810 Country Club Road. So we live practically on the college campus. So we're nearby, and students know that they can swing by, get a cup of coffee, pet our dog. We have a dog named Boomer. He's kind of the mascot. And so that was a group of graduates last May. All the guys came. I had a breakfast for them to celebrate this big milestone in their life, and only the guy seniors were able to join us. So that was that group. And then our last Thursday large group meeting last spring, there was we had senior night. And so this is when the seniors speak to the underclassmen and challenge them and let them know how pressing into their faith during their years at college really made a difference for them and encourages them. I wanted to give you 5 prayer requests that you could just jot down or take a picture with your phone. 11 students, like I said, are participating in the apprenticeship team, which is happening. Today is the 2nd meeting out of 6. There are 16 students on our leadership team. So these are guys and girls that give of their time to say, I want to shine the light of Jesus on this campus, and I want to encourage other students to do the same. And so it's a student-led ministry. So really, they're the ones that have to communicate with York College, reserve rooms, fill out the forms, and so they step into leading and making it happen. And it is a blessing to get to walk alongside them and see God growing and molding them. We have 4 student-led weekly Bible studies, like I shared, so pray for them. Last Tuesday, 17 nursing students joined together for the Bible study. That's a lot of young men and women coming together to study God's Word. So that's encouraging. That all of the students at York College would have open hearts and minds to the love of Jesus. You know, someone said this earlier, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it, right? And so that's the thing with students. We can be a loving presence, and that's what we try to do. We sometimes do, it's called a proxy station, and so it's just a table set up with like a big visual display that hopefully will help us generate some conversation. And so it's truly just a bridge builder. It's not really to, go into in-depth sharing the gospel, but it's to say, I see you, you matter, and we're here for you. We care. And so sometimes it's the gateway for them to come to a Thursday night meeting or to try out a Bible study. And the last one is continued growth and wisdom as the YCP campus minister. And so that's my job, and I'm always learning and growing, and I want to be a lifelong learner. So sometimes I feel ill-equipped, but I trust that God will provide what I need, and I'm grateful for that. So, like Pastor Bouchard said, I am a missionary to a college campus, and so I do raise support, and if anybody here would like to support, feel free to talk to me afterwards, but I do certainly hope you would be praying for this ministry, be praying for the leadership team, that God will keep using them, that we could see other students step forward and receive Jesus. And I'd be happy to share more about what we're doing with InterVarsity. So I wanted to bring my leadership team with me if I could have, but I got this idea. Hey, we could take little videos and put it together so that you can see some faces of men and women that go to your college right now that are involved in InterVarsity, and let you know what InterVarsity has done for them, how it's helping them. So I thought that might be inspiring before we write little cards or fill the bags, which I will give on Thursday night at large group. I will hand them out and tell them about the special meeting, and that you send your love, that you're praying for them. And that will mean so much to these students. So thank you for doing that. And with that, we'll just listen to this last video.
Okay, so I'm recording live from the Lighthouse, and InterVarsity has granted me amazing friendships centered around God.
InterVarsity has helped me to know that I am not alone in my faith.
Best friends.
Community, because it was able to bring me together with like-minded individuals to hang out with.
An honest, loving, well-knit community.
InterVarsity has made me grounded.
To me, InterVarsity is a support system.
One word I would use to describe how InterVarsity has changed me is definitely the word courage.
InterVarsity means friendship.
InterVarsity, for me, it has given me a sense of, community. Because back at home where I live, at our church, there isn't really like a whole bunch of young people. And so coming here, it gave me a sense of, not only community, but brotherhood, people my age that I can actually talk to about Jesus with, just people to share my faith with. And it was like, really cool.
Encouragement and fellowship.
Ivy, to me, is a place where I can connect with others my own age and do so in a way where we are growing deeper together in the Word of God.
Disciple making.
Community.
IV is a judgment-free zone where I feel comfortable talking about anything.
One word I can use to describe IV is connection, and that is because I just grew this deeper connection with God. And also, IV is what gave me my friends, my group of friends, and just the fellowship there is just amazing.
Thank you so much, Beth Wharton, for the wonderful presentation and helping us to sense the work you're doing. It's really beautiful. So I also wanted to recognize that we have some people from St. Paul's Stoverstown here. Thank you for coming down from the North Country to be here. And thank you, Jonas Sterner, our choir director and organist, and the Stone Church Choir. Appreciate that. Now, we've got some exciting things to do. First, what would a church service be without an offering, right? So all the money that you would like to give is going directly to InterVarsity. We don't take anything off the top. I want you to know that. No administrative costs. And there are 2 offering plates in the back, and you can just put it in there, and we'll see that it gets to the right place. After that, for those of you who are at home, we're going to be having a question and answer with Beth, so you can hear a little bit more about what's happening, and the folks who are here can do that too. We're going to have, though, in the back room, we have 2 tables. One is to write cards to students, and Lorelei Rohrbaugh has put together a number of inspiring Bible verses that you can, sometimes you just don't know what to write. There they are, right in front of you, and there's some nice greetings you can put in there, and there's pens and cards and all that. And if the table fills up, just bring it back here to your seat. You can hear the question and answer, write your cards. Then we've got 50 bags of gift bags for the students that need to be filled up with all kinds of goodies and school supplies and some nice bookmarks that are for their Bibles and all sorts of things you'll see back there. And Lorelei Rohrbaugh will be back there to kind of guide you through the circle, which can be done pretty quickly. So, because we said that Beth's work is so important, we invite you to share your offering as you go back to the back room to do the greeting cards and also to do the snacks. Once you're done, we'll come back here and we'll have a closing. So have fun. Oh, I almost forgot, there's cookies back there too. So don't forget to eat some cookies for yourself, okay? Thank you. You may be dismissed. You may go. So Beth, and those of you who are at home, I'm glad you're still tuned in because we're going to be here for a bit longer, and we hope you'll stick with us. I'm sorry we don't have any cookies to share with you, but if you want to grab a cookie, that's okay. That'll be good. And for those of you who are working in the back, you can listen in to us if you'd like. So Beth, thanks so much for doing this question and answer. We really appreciate it. And that was such an interesting presentation.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm happy to share, and thank you for listening and having interest. That means a lot.
It sounds like an incredibly meaningful ministry, especially when you think of the fact that who else is going to reach out to these college students? It's so important, so thank you. So the first question, you answered it a little bit. What led you to InterVarsity, and how did you become involved at your college?
Okay. Well, like I said, my husband and I had moved away for 25 years, and so we were living in Colorado, in Aurora, Colorado, and my husband was pastoring a church there, and I was doing children's ministry at the time.
Right.
But our kids were getting older, they were college age, and so we started leading a Bible study at our house during that time. And Jonas was a youth pastor years before, and I was working with children, so we've always had this passion to work with the younger generations.
Yes, and some experience in doing it too.
That's right.
Yes.
So as we led that Bible study, it was just such a sweet reminder of that passion that we have. And so Jonas really was feeling like God was releasing our call there in Aurora. And God put this idea in our hearts to have a home, have a house that was like a life on life discipleship house. And so that's how the idea of Life House at 810 was birthed.
Yeah.
And we didn't know really where we would go, but my parents, that's the house I grew up in, that I live in now. So we were able to come back to York, which is across the street from the college.
That's so convenient.
And
That's so helpful.
InterVarsity was already the
Yes.
Christian campus ministry, so we got involved with the ministry there. So one interesting thing, though, I went to a large group, the first spring semester we were here, which was we moved here in 2015, so that would have been the spring semester of 2016, and it was their last meeting, and the gentleman who was the staff person, Evan Smith was his name, he said, this is kind of like senior night for me because I've accepted a new position, and I'm going to be leaving York College.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, how interesting the timing of God bringing Jonas and I,
Yeah.
we were able to step in and be volunteers to kind of help things
Yes.
keep moving forward.
So the program wasn't going to go down, it was going to continue
Right.
with your husband's leadership, so that's wonderful.
Yes, and we had no idea of
Right.
that, but God did. And that was good confirmation.
God works in mysterious ways, for sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
The second question is, what is this campus ministry? Why is it called InterVarsity? And do you have a little history of InterVarsity as well?
Absolutely. So around here, when we hear the word varsity in the United States, we think sports ministry.
Right.
But actually, InterVarsity originated in England at the University of Cambridge.
Oh,
and that
really?
was way back in 1877.
Really? That long ago?
That long ago.
Wow.
And so the colleges were known as varsities.
Right.
So different students and different campuses of students would come and gather and talk, read the Bible, discuss it, pray together. And so they kind of created this collegiate grouping, and they named themselves InterVarsity.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes,
It
and so
does.
how did it end up here? Well,
Yeah.
it went to Canada in 1928.
Right.
And in 1941, it was brought to the United States. So it has a long, rich heritage.
Really long history.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it does.
Wow, that's amazing. I can imagine the thousands and thousands of students who have been touched and gone through their whole lives with the influence of InterVarsity on their faith.
Absolutely. Actually, one statistic is over 1 million alumni have been sent out
Really?
into all these different
Wow.
things since 1941.
That is remarkable.
Law, education,
Yeah.
medicine, on and on and on, engineering, all of them.
And,
So.
quite a real gift of God, for sure.
It really is.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is.
With college campuses so secular today, how do you get students interested in attending InterVarsity?
Yes. So York College, I can speak to York College because that's the campus I'm working on. They do an involvement fair.
Okay.
And they do that a few times throughout the year in
Yeah.
the fall and spring semester. And so it's set up for incoming students
Mm-hmm.
to see different clubs and groups that meet on campus that they could plug into. Because
wonderful.
when a freshman comes to campus, it is a very nerve-wracking, stressful, lonely time.
Suddenly leaving home, all your friends have gone off in different directions to school or to work.
Yes.
And it's like your world's restarting
A
again.
whole new world. You feel
Yeah.
very alone.
Yeah.
The students feel very alone. So the first 40 days are vital, very important days for us to be making connection with new students and letting them know that InterVarsity is a place of community and friendship.
Yes.
And we'd love for them to be part.
Wow.
So students walk around and we set up a table. We have the leadership students are there with their t-shirts on and greeting students, and then they give their information, and then we work very hard to do follow-up
Right.
and then plan activities to gather together, yard
Wow.
games, all different kinds of things we do.
And since you have, 50 or so students,
Yes.
I mean, you've been very successful in reaching out and gathering these students together.
Yes, it has gone really, really well, and we're just seeing God continue to grow. So this semester, we have almost 50 students meeting every Thursday night. So those gift bags will go to people.
They'll get used,
They'll get
right?
used, yeah, it's true.
That's great.
Which is really exciting.
That is very exciting.
And
to
it
know.
really is peer peer friendship, reaching out, inviting a friend. Just this past week, I met 2 new students. Like every week, we see new faces.
Really?
So
it continues to grow.
It continues to grow.
That's wonderful to hear.
It is really exciting.
It is.
Yes.
The next question is, how are you able to lead those who have no faith to follow Jesus, those who didn't say have a church background?
Okay, sorry, we have a little feedback or like that sound. So how am I able to lead those who have no faith to follow Jesus? So a big part of what I try to help disciple and teach my leadership team is friendship evangelism.
Right.
Like how to look at people as a friend, as a person, and not as a target.
Not as a number.
Not as a number. Not as a target. These are people that Jesus loves, and we need to be willing to spend time and be a friend, be available. And so it's been neat to hear different stories of, one of the gentlemen was giving praise that a roommate of his, they've been really compatible and good friends, but his roommate has not been pursuing a faith of any kind. He hit a crisis. He's a senior this year. He hit a crisis, and his roommate just opened up and just started kind of pouring his heart out.
Right.
And so looking for opportunities when you're asked to give, like this verse that you read, I love, from 1 Peter, with gentleness and respect, be prepared, be ready at all times. And so that's what we try to do, is help students feel ready and not be fearful.
Not be fearful.
Not be fearful, and just, speak truth in love.
It's such a beautiful way of sharing faith, because it's not lecturing them about Christ or just an intellectual thing. It's people really being genuinely Christian to one another.
That's right.
And being like Jesus for them in a way.
Yes.
You don't have a card or anything, do you?
I do have a little paper, and
What's your address?
It's in the back.
I mean, for the organization.
I'll tell you what, here's my card, and I will get that for you, okay? I'll get back to you. You call me or email me, and I'll get back to you.
Email? Now listen, mister.
Well, you got a phone?
I just turned 90 years old. What's email?
You're not 90. You look a lot younger than that. You're not telling any stories to the pastor, are you?
Huh?
You're not telling any stories to the pastor. You don't look 90.
No. I'm just saying about when you said email.
I know. A lot of people don't use email.
My daughter comes about once a week to do my email.
Oh, that's good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming out.
I wouldn't mind sending you a check.
Here is a...
Thank you. Very
Here's
well
a
prepared,
contact.
Beth. Thank you.
There you go. Okay. Yes.
I'll keep them both.
Thank you so much.
You wouldn't like to go to Gettysburg for a free dinner, a nice dinner, would you?
Oh, sure. I'll call you, or you call me, and we'll talk. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Is that okay? My card. The print is small on that card.
Mike said something to you already. I don't know.
Oh, that'd be good. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming today. It was nice.
Yes. Thanks for being here. So yes, that's certainly a very genuine way of sharing faith, where people are just there for others, and that's what's really always made Christianity so effective, because we care about each other.
Absolutely. And then, definitely helping those students dig into Scripture and understand Jesus' death and his resurrection and, the gospel, but to not feel like they have a rote presentation that they need to say.
Yes.
That they can gently, share how their faith has made a difference in their life.
Because that's so real.
Yes.
And it's not just a canned speech or anything.
It's right.
Sure.
It's genuine. Sure. Yes.
Well, let's see. Sometimes, as I mentioned, the faith of college students may not be very great coming in, because they may have stopped coming to Sunday school when they were 6 or 10 or something like that. And so how do you make the faith relevant for them at the age they're at?
So I think one of the important things is I'm not going to panic. Like sometimes students, they leave home and it is a reality check for them, because sometimes those first 40 days, they realize, wow, I kind of miss my family. Or, I kind of miss what's normal and feel secure.
Yes.
And so they're very vulnerable.
Right.
And so it really is a good time to extend a hand of friendship and kind of come alongside. So not all the students that are involved in InterVarsity maybe have made a decision that they are following Jesus, but they are longing for love and belonging.
Yes.
And so I think, again, that's just an important thing to like love them where they are.
Yes.
And pray for them and just, be available. Be available. So our house is close to campus, and I'm always open to connect with students one-on-one, invite them to go to these different Bible studies, even if they are maybe not professing to be a Christian. It's okay. It's interesting to study the Bible and learn. And sometimes that can work into them making a decision.
So the combination of people genuinely sharing themselves with others, plus the fact that I'm sure in the Bible studies you're talking about how this relates to your life.
Yes.
And they're all in the same boat.
Right.
When they start.
And I think sometimes in college, some of these kids that went to church, they go to college and they begin to make decisions because they can, that aren't going to bring a lot of joy into their life. And they kind of see the world and experiment a little bit with what's out there.
Sure.
And they start to recognize, like, this, I guess, isn't really what it was cracked up to be. And so they begin to ask those questions, like, well, what is my purpose? And what is life all about?
Yes.
And,
those real existential questions.
And how do I deal with pressure and stress and, drama, relationship drama? And so that's all perfect ways to point them back to Jesus and his word and how it gives us instruction and guidance for our everyday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Real down to earth.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah. What is the 2030 calling?
Yes, the 2030 calling is, I'm going to give some numbers. So there's 2,500 campuses that they are praying, and those are campuses that have 1,000 students or more, to see a witnessing community on their campus. Okay. So right now, InterVarsity is in 700 campuses.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's putting a dent in it.
Yep.
But you can see there's about 800 campuses that don't have any witnessing community.
Yes.
So my boss, Andrew Berg, he is like the regional or the area team coordinator. And so he's been working with some of the other campus ministry people in his position of leadership to figure out how together we can work to see this get accomplished. So maybe it's not InterVarsity being on every college campus, but that there would be a witnessing community on every campus. So maybe if Disciple Makers, for example, Disciple Makers has a chapter, a study over at Penn State York campus. And so I can feel reassured, and actually I know the young couple that's leading that, and we're partners together.
Right.
So we're better together.
Oh, I would think.
So 2030 is kind of this benchmark that we're working towards, praying towards, and trusting God to bring new people willing to step out in faith and serve.
Wow. That's such good news that you're working together with other organizations that are trying to affect the same outcome.
That's right.
That's great.
Yep.
What are the focus areas of ministry for InterVarsity?
Yeah, so
I think we covered some of that.
Yes, so Bible study is really instrumental, and we do inductive Bible study, like I had talked about. Evangelism, how to share your faith, how to understand the gospel and the good news of Jesus. Discipleship and leadership development. So helping our leadership team to keep growing in their faith, as well as the 50 students that come on Thursday nights, like keep moving forward wherever they are, closer to Jesus. Mission, letting them know that God wants to use people here and abroad. And we all are called to a life of mission, getting to know our neighbors and what have you. So it's not whether or not we all as followers of Jesus are called to serve and to live a life of mission. And then multi-ethnicity. recognizing that the world is this beautiful melting pot of lots of people.
Oh, that's so good.
And I feel like our chapter is beginning to show that. It's a little glimpse of what heaven's going to be like, you know?
I would think if you're part of a group that's a minority and you're at a college campus, and you might feel, I mean, most people when they start out feel a little bit isolated and alone. That might make it more difficult. And then if you have a group like InterVarsity reaching out, that must be very comforting to
Be
them.
helpful, yes. And that we have room to grow. I think that there is like foreign exchange students. And so since I've started on staff, I haven't really been able to make a lot of traction in that way. So that's another way that I would love to see us be able to, to be more intentional to reach out to the students from abroad that are here in York.
So God's keeping the doors open and inspiring new ministries.
That's right, absolutely. There's always more that can be done.
Yes. Does timing student schedule allow for gathering times such as Bible studies, worship time, gathering, encouraging daily devotion, community service? And you mentioned you do have the different Bible studies and the different organizations, I mean different gatherings. And so it sounds like apparently people get there, right?
It is really amazing to me when I think back to when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, what I chose to spend my time doing looks very different than what these students that I'm working with, you know, they give the 16 that are on leadership team, every Sunday afternoon, they take a break from studying and writing papers and all of that and come over to our house, and we have our leadership team from 4:30 to 6.
Right.
And so we do some spiritual formation just to help them hold on to their faith and let them know we care about them. It's not just about numbers, you know. But they give up their time, and then Thursday nights, and then they go to a Bible study. And so this is all on their own desire. They're making the time.
And it must be so helpful to them that this is an opportunity to be with friends who have values that they do. A lot of times you come on college campus and you're feeling in an alien world.
Yes.
And yet here are people who are believing God, have caring values about others, and it's not just about the craziness that sometimes goes on in fraternities and all of that.
It's true. And like, again, the scripture that you read, it was so good because it says, so that when you are insulted, those who speak evil of your good conduct as followers of Christ will become ashamed. So it's not if we will be insulted, it's when we're insulted. And learning that we don't need to react in anger,
right?
But that we can press into our faith, recognize hurt people, and, you know, Jesus wasn't insulted, and he was, you know, despised by men and people, and so that happens. So there is power in numbers and support, community. People want loving and belonging, so it helps that way.
And oftentimes Christians get labeled with certain, people expect them to be judgmental or narrow-minded, and here you are presenting this group of young people who are trying to live the kind, humble, caring life and being genuinely caring.
Right.
And that must really take care of a lot of that
Definitely
stereotype.
helps.
Yeah.
It definitely helps, for sure. Yeah, we want to be bridge builders and bring, you know, be a peaceful, loving presence on that campus.
That's beautiful. I think we talked a little bit about what states are involved in the Mid-Atlantic region.
Yes, we did. So it's Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, DC, and Virginia. And this is called the Mid-Atlantic region. There's 150 college universities. 50 of those campuses have IV on their campuses, so they have a chapter. Now, some of the campus ministers actually work at 2 campuses. So not all of them have their own staff person because, you know, we're looking to always grow. The workers are few, like the Bible says.
It's true.
The harvest is plentiful, the workers are few. So 45 of those are without a gospel community currently right now. So we're praying for those 45 campuses here to break that 2030. That was the real big picture. And now we're kind of looking at the Mid-Atlantic region more specific to us.
It's quite a task by the sounds, to be there for those other communities.
It is, yes, but it's worthwhile. It's such an investment into, you think, I love thinking about, sometimes when I'm sitting with the leadership team, I think about Jesus sitting with his disciples and how he selected these young men from different backgrounds and trainings, and how those men said, yes, I'll follow. And at some point really believed he was the Son of God.
Sure.
And to the point of giving their lives. But because of that sacrifice and that commitment, we're able to be sitting together in our living room, learning about our faith.
Yes.
And so I know that 12 people can make a difference in the world.
They sure can, and have.
And have, yes.
Yes. How might we most effectively pray for the 45 campuses without a gospel community?
I think a specific way to be praying is that people would be tuned in to hearing God's call, to be willing to serve.
To listen to how God might be calling them like God called you.
Absolutely.
And help them with their faith too.
Yes, and that God would work in spite of the lack of a staff person, maybe through a student having the courage to start a Bible study.
Yes.
And something, like that. So.
Reverend Fritz,
did you want to broadcast it or not? No.
It is being broadcasted, actually.
Okay,
yes.
Sorry,
do you have a question, Sterling? This is Reverend Sterling Fritz.
Hello, nice to meet you.
1981 York College grad.
All right. Yeah. I was going to ask how many York College grads were in the room.
82. I have kid people.
Awesome.
I got my BS and my MRS.
There you go. That was an important one to get, right?
Yeah, that was the important one.
Do you have any questions, Sterling?
Not really. It's good you're doing this work now. Do they
Thank
have,
you.
Besides your organization, do they have like any kind of chaplain or anything like that?
They have a part-time Protestant chaplain.
Okay.
Her name is Lisa Hare.
Yes. Yeah. She's Lutheran, isn't she?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And so she also pastors a church. But she's on the campus part-time, and so
we. She's at a church in York, New Salem.
Okay.
That's the church.
Oh.
She's at St. Jacob's.
Oh, across the street. You're right. There's a UCC church called St. Jacob's, and Lutherans across the street. Or they would say we're across the street from them.
I'm doing a Bible study on Paul. I'm reading about Paul and Barnabas.
Yes.
And I'm like, why don't they have any St. Barnabas churches?
I know.
He was the encourager.
That's right.
Where would Paul be without Barnabas?
Exactly.
You're right.
Exactly.
He may not have done so.
If I new church starts, it's going to be St. Barnabas.
We all need a Barnabas. Yeah.
Well, nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you.
And I put on to my note I wrote 45 years ago, I stepped on the York College campus.
You know what? They love to hear from alumni. We actually have a couple that's coming next week to talk at large group. And so we've had some different faculty come and speak. We had a guy he graduated in 1982, actually. His name was Eric Culbertson. You remember? Okay, so anyway, his dad, I think, was on staff at the college. I forget what his position was.
The joke is that in '81, when they took our yearbook pictures, somebody broke in the photography studio and stole all the film. So they never produced a yearbook. So
my goodness.
Bummer.
But anyway, they're out there on Classmates, so maybe that's what happened to them.
Somebody put them on Classmate. Yeah, those pictures from your yearbook. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I actually went 2 years in the summer.
Oh.
And then transferred back down to New York.
Okay.
Save some money and things.
Awesome.
But,
well, keep praying for your alma mater. Keep praying for your.
Oh, I will.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. But I was like to say, this Broker, do they still use Broker to meet in, or did they make it back in the house? There used to be like a chapel.
Oh, you know what? There still is a chapel up behind there's like a softball field.
Yeah.
That chapel. So yes, we do our Christmas program there. Our last large group, we have like an Advent service there. It's not used as much as it used to be.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Which is sad, but.
Years ago, they had a thing for behavioral science. I went to that since college.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
But also, but went back, they had a thing for women.
Okay. Neat.
Well, we'll help you on some of the ways.
Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. Good. That would be awesome.
Yes, I should have mentioned your church, Reverend Sterling Fritz, in Littlestown. Yes, yes, yes. Redeemers. Yes, yeah, yes, yes.
What I love is that there's all these different churches meeting here, and InterVarsity is interdenominational. So when we get together, there's a lot of different students from lots of different churches.
Oh, there must be.
But
so
we
many
come
different
together
churches,
with the main thing, which is Jesus. That's what brings us.
He's always had a heart for this too. I'm second career ministry. I started right out of college, going back to seminary. The seminary, it didn't work out, so I had 18 years in the wilderness. I like to tell people, but actually it was the best thing ever because I got to be out in the world and get to know people and different things.
Right.
I worked at York Galleria Mall as security.
Oh.
And I went back when I started seminaries in my 40s, and I said to the young girl in the fourth store, I said, yeah, I want to be a minister now. She goes, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm like, what? Everybody else is like, yeah. She said, well, every pastor I know has been an answer.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, I am so sorry, and to hear that. And I've told people a story from the pulpit and cleaning it up. I say a-hole, but anyway, it does make you think about how young people sometimes have had one bad experience. And
it's true.
It's true. But overall, it's really, I enjoy working with, I don't have as many college age in my congregation, they're all away at college.
Yes.
But with confirmation classes and
yes.
younger kids.
And
that's good questions. This morning, I was telling Sue, I had a great thing opening. I have a teen group, and we're doing a Lutheran resource about the Bible, read and study the Bible.
Yes.
And anyway, it was about somehow or another, but we got on the thing about the one kid. He's a piece of work. He's like 13. He said, "Why did God kill the dinosaurs?" I said, "No, he didn't." I said, "A meteorite hit the Earth." He said, "Yeah, God threw it."
That's funny.
No, he didn't go up there and go it. But anyway, we talked a little bit about how God works in the world. I said the dinosaurs had to leave so they wouldn't eat us.
But people have questions, and students have good questions.
And I don't look at them and say, well, that's a tough question.
Right. That's right.
Because now they're comfortable.
Yeah, they've put their question forward, you've answered it. Yeah.
That's neat. And you know what? Those seeds really do make a difference. You plant those seeds, and then you trust that God will water, like different people can pour into their lives. And
I've seen that happen in my life.
Yeah.
And it's not always necessarily about faith, but the idea that I was there for a young person even before I was a pastor. And first case, I did in my senior year of high school, we had a thing where you go over the elementary school and do like senior eighth. And I did it with my former second grade teacher. And there was a little boy who I knew his family, they were at my grandparents' church in Shue. And I kind of took Eric under my wing, and he struggled with us. Well, 12 to 15 years after that, I got a phone call one night. He said, "Strong, this is Eric. I said, I'm getting married. You want to be my best man?"
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
Wow. That's neat. Yeah. Sometimes we don't know, but I'm glad you got to know. It's true. That's right. Yes.
I try to do a lot, particularly with some of my other friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
Even older, as a young man, I was part of one church when I was in my 20s, and a young man in his 40s now going for cancer.
Wow. It's important. That's your pastor's heart.
He reached out to me and said, "Strong."
Wow. That's great. Thank you
Good
so much.
talk to you, Sterling. That was Reverend Sterling Fritz. You may not have been able to hear all that because there's a little bit of background sound, but that background sound is people here who are working on gift cards for students, friends who haven't seen each other in a while and having time to talk, and some people putting together gift bags for students as well. So it's been a good time.
It's such a wonderful sound, actually.
It is a wonderful
friendship
sound.
and fellowship and
Yes.
connection.
Sometimes when you're on the other end of the phone, it sounds a little garbled, but it's really good stuff happening. So could I ask you one last question,
Sure.
Beth? What resources are needed to expand the ministry of InterVarsity, both at Yale College and other colleges and universities?
Well, as far as resources go, so InterVarsity does a lot of different, maybe some people have heard of Urbana, which is a big crusade, kind of, I don't know if that's not the right word, but a big missions convention. And it happens every 3 years. And it actually just took place in December of 2022, the week between Christmas and New Year's.
Wow.
And so thousands of students go to, I think it was in Illinois this year. So they go and just are challenged. There's lots of different speakers, but we also do things like fall conference that I showed a picture of our group that went to fall conference. And then in the summer, it's the second week of May 13th through the 19th, we go to Lake Champion to do a thing called chapter camp. And we're looking at the book of Mark, and we study the chapters of Mark 1, for like the whole week.
Wow.
And students do the inductive Bible study. They're doing observation, and they do chunks of the verses. And so then there's also free time to have some fun and connect with students from other colleges. So scholarship money is a resource that is really, really helpful, because sometimes, students are limited with their resources financially, would love to go to things like this that really do impact their lives. And so if people give financially, then I can have a scholarship fund and can give those out, making it a little more possible.
It's amazing what a week with other students who are studying their faith can make.
Oh my goodness.
I know we've had some church camps, and at the end of the week, people are saying goodbye and they're just in tears because they had such a meaningful time and they miss their new friends. And
it's so true.
It's so amazingly powerful. Yes.
I had the first opportunity to go to chapter camp last May, and it was neat to witness that and to just see deep friendships developed and connection. And so, also with scholarships, people praying, just that students would be willing to give of their time to go and be impacted and challenged. Other resources, we do have some Bibles, that I like to have on hand, because if someone doesn't have a Bible, I want to make sure that they get a copy of God's Word.
Yes.
And so, when people give towards this ministry and the budget, it goes to fortify some of those needs that come up during the year, and opportunities for the students.
Money is very helpful here. For all these needs.
Yes.
And sometimes people say, well, they're wanting money from me, but we can't as individuals do everything.
Yeah.
But we can send money and help out people who are doing the ministries.
And then we're teamed up. I love it's ministry partnership.
Yes.
So just like farming, it takes many hands to grow a crop.
Yes.
It's the same way in the body of Christ, where we all do what we can and know that each piece is so important.
That's right. Little feedback. There we go. Well, thank you, Beth, so much for being part of this question and answer. Are there any other questions you want to answer that we may not have said?
No, I think we covered a lot of details.
We did.
Thank you for just caring and your being attentive, and for your prayers. Means so much.
And it's very kind of you to take your Sunday afternoon when you have another meeting going on at the same time. It's very generous, and we appreciate this opportunity to share the work of interministry. For those of you who are at home, we're probably going to have a closing in a little bit. We've got people in different parts of the church. Oh, hi. I didn't see those folks. Hello. And we'll be getting together for a closing in just a few minutes, I think. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Let me just call people and see if they're... I can play too. Testing, there we go. If you would like to pause what you're doing and come together in the sanctuary, we're just going to have a very brief closing with a couple of announcements. And you can go back to eating, talking, whatever you want to do. We're not going to kick you out, okay? We like you here. So if you could gather together for just a few minutes, and we'll do our closing, and then you can go back to what you're doing. Because I know you're all up to good out there. Yes, all good. Okay, let me start with just a couple of announcements. First, I'd like to thank everybody for being here today, taking time on your Sunday to do this project where we reach out to our community. And I'd like to thank everybody who brought refreshments, cards, and those of you who wrote those cards and helped put those bags together. I'm not seeing any empty bags over there anymore, so the gift bags must have been put together and the cards sent. So thank you so much for that. And those of you who gave funds to help the work of InterVarsity, I see our treasurer back there checking the money, and it's going to get out very soon to that good organization. Our program for next week, March 5th, is going to be at Bethel United Church of Christ. Reverend Zoe Dedeen is the pastor there, and she'll be the worship leader. And they're going to be celebrating a community organization as well. And for those of you at Grace and from your other churches, I'm sure you'll be getting news of that during the week if you haven't already. If I could back up that slide, Gerald, just to get, there's a benediction in there somewhere. No, I guess it isn't. I'll read the benediction to you, okay? I can do that. I better put my glasses on, I won't see it. There we are. Let us go forth, empowered by this command of the Lord. Go then to all people everywhere and make them my disciples, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teach them to obey everything I have commanded you. And I will be with you always to the end of an age, from Matthew 28. And if you would like to stand up, we're just going to sing our sending hymn together. You don't have to stand up if you're not, if you can't get up there. All right, I understand. I have a little arthritis in the back and all. Here we go.
Each one can reach one. As we follow after Christ, we all can lead one. We can lead one to the Savior. Then together we can tell the world that Jesus is the way. If we each one reach one.
God bless you. Grab some more cookies, talk to a few more friends, and safe travels on the way home. Thank you, Beth.
Where are we at next week, person?
We are at Bethel United Church of Christ, and
I need to know that, because I did not know.
yes, yeah. I just said that, Scott. You weren't listening.